Local news, national news, even feel-good news. Delivering the topics that are relevant to you.
That's why I listen to Joe. He covers it all.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I'm so glad you're joining us here this afternoon on Thursday. We got a lot to unpack. First, Donald Trump is said to be considering a visit to the U.S. Capitol next week, where he might be open to considering himself as a candidate for Speaker of the House. Now, for the record, a non-member of the House has never been elected Speaker, even though membership is not technically required. Now, there is a House rule. Republicans have rules in place that would prevent somebody from serving as Speaker if they're under felony indictment, for which a sentence of 2 or more years of imprisonment could be imposed. Well, that actually is where Donald Trump is right now. He by that rule, he would not be eligible. He would not be qualified to be Speaker of the House. But rules are made by humans, and rules can be unmade by humans. Certainly, Republicans in the House could be able to unmake that. I don't know what the end game would be for Donald Trump being Speaker of the House, but put me down as totally in favor of Donald Trump being Speaker of the House, because just the entertainment value alone of Donald Trump being Speaker of the House, I'm down for that. I would get a front row seat and a big bucket of popcorn, and I would enjoy the absolute heck out of that. What do you think? 844-580-WDBO, 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic and the WDBO app. This as you have really got to have gone off the rails when you're a Democrat president and CNN can't figure out what in the world you're doing. I play for you CNN's John Berman calling out Joe Biden for breaking his promise of not building the border wall. When CNN gets crossways with a Democrat president, you know that president has really screwed the pooch, if you will. Take a listen. This is CNN's John Berman.
President Biden is building the wall, at least part of it. This is something he said he would not do. The Biden administration announced it will waive 26 federal laws to allow border wall construction in South Texas because of what they call an acute and immediate need. The plan is to construct up to 20 miles of new border barriers in Starr County. That's in the Rio Grande Valley area. Some 245,000 migrants have attempted to cross the border illegally in just that one sector since October of last year. On the entire border there, the number is closer to 3 million. Hundreds of migrants rushed past border control agents near El Paso yesterday. So when he was running for president, Biden made clear that he would not expand the border wall if elected.
Trump campaigned on build that wall. Are you willing to tear that wall down?
No, there will not be another foot of wall constructed on my administration.
The president also said today that former presidents have said to him that they wish that they had built a wall. Do you recall President Obama ever saying that?
I can't think of a single one who said that. We need border security, but that's not the border security we need.
And on the day he took office, President Biden signed a proclamation stating that, quote, building a massive wall that spans the entire southern border is not a serious policy solution. That we should know today's action does not do that. It's a 20-mile section. Nevertheless, it is very different than what President Biden campaigned on.
Clearly, CNN's John Berman is confused, particularly after the administration has time and time again assured us that the southern border is secure.
It is my testimony that the border is secure.
The president have worked very, very hard to implement a strategy when it comes to the border that is humane, safe, and has orderly enforcement.
Things are going at the border, sir.
Much better than you all expected.
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
We have responded with a model approach that has proven to work.
We have taken unprecedented action over the past year and a half to secure our border.
And we have a process in place to manage migrants at the border. We're working to make sure it's safe and orderly and humane.
The border is closed.
We agree that the border is secure.
We're executing a comprehensive strategy to secure our borders.
One of our highest priorities is to ensure that we have a secure border, and that is what we are doing.
We are stopping the flow at the border.
The border is secure.
administration officials there promising us, assuring us that the border is secure. Curious, it doesn't feel very secure, especially when we see videos of just a constant flow of people coming across the border. But Joe Biden says he's not in favor of border walls and says that border walls don't work.
Of course the border walls work. All the trafficking and all the illegal immigrants that are coming through in areas where there is no wall or large barrier. The administration's policy is to allow all these illegals in. It's done on purpose. They have no intentions of securing the border. But it's okay for them to put the fences up around their estate to keep people out.
Yeah, funny how that works, isn't it?
Joe, all the Republicans have to do is show the old videos from the early 2000s, 2006, 5, 4, 8. Everybody forgets that Barack Obama was called the deporter-in-chief. Deported the most illegal immigrants out of any president. But now all they want to do is build up their voter base with illegal people. Go figure.
Honestly, and especially listening to Joe Biden talking about it today, I think Biden is just has no idea what's going on. I mean, I think it's been abundantly clear that he, in every scenario, given his advanced age, just has no idea what's going on.
Hey, Joe, this is an election year, and all this is just lip service. As well as with the student loan forgiveness program, I'm waiting for the lawsuits on that one, and that will be thrown out. But yeah, this is an election year. Gas prices will go down. But after that, we're going to see skyrocketing inflation.
Yeah, you let us know what you think. 844-580-WDBO. 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic and the WDBO app.
Hey, Joe.
Hey.
I don't think Biden knows the difference in his head and his toes.
Yeah.
As far as him saying a border wall's not going to work. The guy is literally a few fries short of a Happy Meal. So, yeah.
Yeah, and to say that he's a few fries short of a Happy Meal, I mean, that is the kind of the expression that's used when someone is dumb. And I'm not saying that Biden's not dumb. I'm not saying that he's smart. I'm just saying that Biden maybe had a day in which he was a brilliant man. That day does not exist anymore. That day is long ago. He's gone. This guy's gone. He is. I remember Clint Eastwood talked about the empty chair. He's an empty suit. He's just not present. His mind is no longer present.
Josh calling from Orlando.
Josh.
Border walls absolutely do work, but not just 20 miles. We need to build a wall across the whole nation to slow immigration down.
Michael in the chat says, wish he was my grandpa. Why? Because you could get all that Chinese millions wired to you? Because evidently his grandkids seemingly got a whole lot of money wired to them from the Chinese. But Michael also asks, what is it? Are we criticizing him because he's building the wall or because he went back on his word, which we want him to do anyway? I don't know. I think Biden's trying to have it both ways. I think Biden is saying that border walls don't work, but my hands are tied and I have no choice but to build 20 miles of a border wall.
Border walls work, but only if they're true walls. If you can't go over them, you can't go under them, and you can't go around them, then they're bound to work. But it has to be that way or nothing.
Why does that remind me of a song, Laurel? Can't go under it. Can't go over. What song is that? Is that one of the Bear songs, I think?
I don't know.
Is that it's a kid?
Rings a bell.
It's a children's song, right?
I think so, yeah.
Can't go under it. Can't go over it. Would you guys be surprised if I told you that Hillary Clinton had terrible things to say about Trump supporters again? Hillary Clinton, who famously made the basket of deplorables comment about people who support Donald Trump. The twice-failed Democrat presidential candidate is now in a panic over Donald Trump's lead in the GOP polls. During an interview with PBS, where she'll get no pushback whatsoever, Clinton pushed several false claims in an effort to smear Donald Trump in the eyes of voters, one of which she suggested that the President Trump is doing Putin's bidding. You know, that is so insane to say that Donald Trump is doing Putin's bidding. And what's really tragic about that, and I'd love to see some polling on this, I'm sure there are plenty of people in America who still believe or who believe that Donald Trump is a Russian agent, that Donald Trump won his election because of the Russians, that Donald Trump is bought and paid for by Russians. Yet, in spite of the investigation, no charges ever came out of that. It was an absolute nothing burger. But Hillary Clinton says that Trump is doing Putin's bidding and claiming that supporting Donald Trump is like being in a cult. That's what she says. The former Secretary of State also said that Trump manipulated social media and also some so-called mainstream media to forge an unbreakable connection to his base. What in the world is she talking about? How do you make those kinds of statements without anything to back them up, without any kind of any challenge to that, or at least curiosity? You think someone from PBS would say, well, explain what you mean by Putin's bidding. Explain how that would happen. What does that look like? What does that look like that Donald Trump is doing Putin's bidding? What do you mean that the people who support Donald Trump are like being in a cult? What do you mean by that? Having some simple curiosity would pretty much carry the day, I would think, but they don't seem to have a simple curiosity there. She says that Biden must be reelected because the alternative is so dark and dystopian. She adds, Donald Trump, wants to undermine the rule of law, to destroy our institutions, to pull us out of NATO, to do Putin's bidding, to be unwilling to stand up for the real American values, to put one person above the country. None of that is American, she says. So I think that Biden-Harris deserves to be reelected, she says. I think we have to reelect them given what the alternative is. A big part of the Republican base feels a connection to Trump. I still believe sitting here today, he will be their nominee, no matter how hard others may try to distinguish themselves. That all from Hillary Clinton to PBS. She says, I think it's a very sad commentary on what people are looking for in a leader because everything that he allegedly stands for is at odds with so much of what has made this country work for a long time. It's the emotional, psychological, cultural connection to someone who really has unfortunately manipulated social media and also some so-called mainstream media in a way that people believe what he says to them. All that from Hillary Clinton. Okay, what do you think? 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. Coming up next, all the stories that you missed while you're at work today, including a story that just broke a minute ago, about Donald Trump's plans for being Speaker of the House. Wait, you got to hear this. It is coming up next on the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
Now, the three big things you need to know.
Three. Week 5 in the NFL kicks off this evening with Thursday Night Football. The Washington Commanders will play host to the Chicago Bears. The game kicks off at 8:15. Two. More walkouts by United Auto Workers members could be announced tomorrow. UAW President Shawn Fain is expected to update union members on contract negotiations with Detroit's big three automakers. Talks with Stellantis and Ford Motor Company reportedly have been making progress. One. Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers are on strike. Negotiations have been going on for months and last-minute talks continued through Tuesday night. However, workers walked off the job after failing to reach an agreement.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk.
You're you're just joining us here on the Joe Kelley Show, it is a busy news day today. Here are all the stories that you missed while you're at the office today, working the jackhammer at the office. The NBC News had this 7 hours ago. 49 people killed in a Russian missile strike on a Ukrainian grocery store. 6 hours ago, ABC News reported that Nancy Marks, the former treasurer for embattled Representative George Santos, is expected to plead guilty to federal charges. That means she's likely to have turned state's evidence, state's witness, and that will likely be very bad for George Santos. You may have seen the surveillance video. 6 hours ago, ABC reported that a person of interest is in custody in connection with the stabbing of Brooklyn activist Ryan Carson. He was stabbed at 4 o'clock in the morning while out on a date. 5 hours ago, a U.S. jet fighter shot down an armed Turkish drone in northeast Syria after it was deemed a threat to U.S. forces. 4 hours ago, the Washington Post reported that a man with a handgun, get this, demanded to see the Wisconsin governor. He was arrested. He then posted bail and returned with an assault rifle. Are you kidding me? He has been arrested again, this time no bail. 5 hours ago, CNN said U.S. mortgage rates soared to the highest level in 23 years. Good luck buying a house. 3 hours ago, Trump asked a judge to throw out the January 6th charges with presidential immunity as his defense. 3 hours ago, Russia's President Vladimir Putin says an investigation into the crash of the Wagner mercenaries chief's plane found hand grenade fragments in the victims' bodies. 2 hours ago, a man that opened fire on a New York subway train last year, wounding 10 people, sentenced to life in prison. 2 hours ago, Huffington Post reported that a former University of Southern California campus gynecologist accused of sexually abusing patients from 2009 to 2016 is found dead in his Los Angeles home Wednesday. He was 76 years old. An hour ago, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission reports that they have sued Elon Musk in federal court in San Francisco to force the billionaire businessman to testify in the agency's probe into his purchase of X, formerly Twitter, back in 2022. Get this, an hour ago, CBS News reported the United States is restarting deportations of Venezuelan migrants in an attempt to reduce unlawful border crossings. Fascinating that the administration is suddenly concerned about the border. 40 minutes ago, that's going to be the same thing. That's Elon Musk. 10 minutes ago, the Secretary of DHS backtracks on the Texas border wall after calling it an immediate need. Of course, they're backtracking. The whole Biden administration is backtracking. And 14 minutes ago, Fox News reported that Donald Trump would accept the House speakership for, quote, a short period while Republicans decide on a permanent replacement. What do you guys think? Would you like to see Donald Trump as the next Speaker of the House, at least maybe for just a little while, for just a short period of time? You can let me know right now using the open mic and the WDBO app, or call me up at 844-580-WDBO. Coming up here, we'll have more about Donald Trump and his possible vision for being the Speaker of the House, and Florida's recreational marijuana initiative is going to go to the state Supreme Court. What do you think about Florida becoming a state that allows recreational marijuana? It is very likely to be on the same ballot that Trump v. Biden is going to be on. We'll have details straight ahead.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Insightful.
You tell the truth from your point of view.
Entertaining.
Man, that guy is a lot taller than he sounds on the radio.
And engaging.
When we hear you on the radio, it's a good thing.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
So Hillary Clinton says that Trump supporters are like a cult and that none of what they do is American. 844-580-WDBO, 844-580-9326. Now, this if you're just joining us, we're also talking about Donald Trump could possibly throw his hat into the ring here to become Speaker of the House, at least temporarily, until the House can get their affairs in order.
Hey, Joe, I'm a Republican, but I agree with Hillary on one point. Those who are in a cult Doesn't matter what he does, what he says, how he behaves, what dumb idea he presents, they still support him and defend him. That's a cult. And I voted for him.
All right, your mic was cutting out just a little bit there on us, but you agree with Hillary that Trump supporters are like a cult. I will tell you this. I agree that some Trump supporters are like a cult. And for the exact reason that he just said, because no matter what Donald Trump does, whether it is a brilliant idea or a terrible idea, whether it is something wonderful he says or something very negative he says, even if he says something that is utterly indefensible, there is a swath of Trump supporters that will absolutely refuse to acknowledge his flaws and brokenness. And for those are people who worship him. And I think we can all agree that there is a swath of Americans that worship at the altar of Donald Trump. And all you have to do for some of these people is just look at the back of their cars. If you've got more than 20 bumper stickers on your car and flags on your car supporting Donald Trump, you might be in a cult. If you've got 1 or 2 stickers, you're probably safe. If you voted for Donald Trump and have no stickers, you're probably safe. But if your front yard is filled with FJB banners and Let's Go Brandon and pro Donald Trump flags and everything else like that, I've seen people's houses, and it is insane. It's hero worship. It is idol worship. And particularly for Christians, you should know better than that. You should not be worshiping the created, but worshiping the creator. And I don't think I could ever bring myself to say the words, I agree with Hillary Clinton, because I don't agree with Hillary Clinton, because she is painting with an incredibly broad brush. She is saying that all Donald Trump supporters are like a cult. She is saying that they're all the basket of deplorables, and I do not agree with that. There are plenty of fine, upstanding Trump supporters that don't worship him, that don't behave like it's a cult, and yet still support Donald Trump. Count me amongst that group. I mean, I voted for Donald Trump twice. If he is the nominee against Joe Biden, I will vote for him a third time. But I do not worship him. I do not idolize him. I don't have any bumper stickers on my car. Not one. I don't have anything. I don't have any stickers anywhere. I'm a clean canvas. I don't have any tattoos either. So, but if you've got Trump tattoos, you're in a cult. If you've got 50, 60 bumper stickers, you're in a cult.
It's funny how they made Trump do a cognitive test and he passed, but they will not allow one for Biden.
Well, you're hitting on some truths there, but not quite. They did not make Trump take a cognitive test. Nobody made Trump take a cognitive test. And for at least what I have seen, or as the case may be, haven't seen, we have to take Donald Trump's word for it that he passed the test. Because I have not seen any published results of a cognitive test taken by Donald Trump. And Joe Biden is certainly more than welcome to take his own cognitive test if he wants to, but I think we all know very well, and frankly, I think Joe Biden knows that he wouldn't pass it. He wouldn't be able to pass that test. Let's go to Tom joining us at 844-580-WDBO. Tom, you're on the Joe Kelley Show. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, Joe. How are you today?
Excellent.
Good. Hey, listen, I kind of don't agree with. Well, I can't say I don't agree with you. I just say, I know.
Tom,
quite a few people.
Tom, you're allowed to not agree with me. I just want to put that out there. It's okay.
I know quite a few people, maybe not as many as you do. A lot of my friends are Trump supporters, and I have yet to see anybody that I think is taking over and is showing cult-like behavior. A lot of them love the fact that Trump's a fighter. He's taken on the elites. It's been so long that, we've had the Bushes, we've had the Clintons, we've had these, political dynasties that just kind of pretty much look out for themselves. And, the fact that Trump is out there defending normal people and he's not part of the so-called uniparty with, wasting money here, there, and everywhere. I think a lot of people respect him, a lot of people follow him, and a lot of people want him to be successful.
And do you not think that there is another part that absolutely worship him? And I think about the people that go to his rallies, and I've been to a Trump rally before. So I think it's normal to go to a politician's rally, but when you're decked out head to toe in Trump gear, and again, you've got 30 stickers on the back of your car, and you're willing to alienate family members and cut off family members because they may not agree with you on Donald Trump. You don't think that's a bit much?
Joe, again, I'm 60 years old. I've seen a lot of political folks, and I've seen them act that way for W. I've seen these, George W. Bush rallies where people were, again, head to toe. They have their whole side lawns covered with signs. Everything about John Kerry, that he was the devil. And again, I think there are some folks that, are, political junkies, so to speak, that, live and die by politics.
No doubt.
I don't see it more for Trump than I have, again, like I said, for, W. Bush or Reagan back in the day, so.
I guess the difference for me, Tom, is I see so much gear, paraphernalia. I just don't remember seeing signs, banners, there would be Bush, Bush bumper stickers and stuff like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to say Bush Gore, but Bush Gore was the Supreme Court case, not the campaign ticket. But I just don't remember that kind of paraphernalia until now. And honestly, we don't have the paraphernalia on the other side. I know a company that makes political paraphernalia, and they only make it for the right side. They only make it for Donald Trump. There is no left side paraphernalia there.
You got me there. Again, I do agree. Again, when it comes to the rallies and stuff like that, again, I remember, Bush had a pretty big following. But I guess Trump's been around for a while now, and again, I do see a little bit more of the big flags, so to speak, where you see those big, gigantic Trump flags on the pickup trucks.
Yep.
And so on. So, I agree with you there. But, again, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's cult-like, Joe. That's the only thing I think I disagree with you on.
Got it. Totally understand. Tom, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your call. Thank you for letting us be a part of your afternoon drive home. It's pretty awesome. You can join us now at 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Coming up next here, we're going to talk about recreational marijuana. Do you think that we here in the Sunshine State, let me rephrase this. You will have a chance to vote on this coming up in the November ballot. Not this November, next November. This is going to be on the ballot. Recreational marijuana. Will you be voting in favor or in opposition to recreational marijuana in the state of Florida? 844-580-WDBO or hit me up in the open mic and the WDBO app.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, the three big things you need to know.
Three. Congrats to Brianne for winning the $1,000 with the WDBO payroll payout. Your next chance at winning is coming up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. It's now day 21 of the United Auto Workers strike. This comes as 400 more Ford workers in Michigan are being told not to report to work today. Last week, UAW President Shawn Fain said Ford and GM were refusing to make any meaningful progress at the table. A Russian strike on a Ukrainian village has left at least 48 people dead. That's according to Ukrainian authorities. President Zelensky said on Telegram that a missile hit a grocery store in the Kharkiv region, calling it a demonstratively brutal Russian crime.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Breaking news to lively debates, covering the issues that matter to you.
I make it a point to listen to Joe Kelley when I need to fully understand what's happening in the news.
Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's News and Talk, WDBO.
All right, we're talking about Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton says that Trump supporters are like a cult. I disagree with her that all Trump supporters are like a cult. I don't believe all Trump supporters are like a cult. I do believe some Trump supporters are like a cult. And honestly, if you're offended by me saying that, then you might be one of the cult members, honestly. So
Joe, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line and the distinction between idolizing somebody, worshiping as an idol, and having a grand support and love for? Where do we draw the line? Like, when does it become an actual sin to idolize somebody in a non-worshiping as creator type of way?
Okay, so you've asked me a Christian question, so let me answer it in a Christian manner. If you spend more time of your day thinking about, talking about, writing about, social media posting about Donald Trump than you do Jesus Christ, you might be in a cult. You might be worshiping a false idol. If you have more stickers on your car, more banners on your house that say Donald Trump than Jesus Christ, you might be in a cult. If you have more shirts in your closet that say Donald Trump than Jesus Christ, you might be in a cult. I mean, I spend far more time. Keep in mind, I voted for Donald Trump twice. I'll vote for him a third time if he's the nominee. I don't spend any time talking about Donald Trump outside of these 2 hours. I don't have any gear that says Donald Trump on it. I take it back. I've got a bobblehead in my office, but it was given to me. I read the Bible every day. I read about the Bible every day. I listen to biblical podcasts every day. I worship my Creator every day. And if ever I get to a point at which you think that I am worshiping the created rather than the Creator, please, someone wring my neck and straighten me out. Now, do we have time to talk about marijuana? Can we talk about marijuana? I feel like I got to get in the right headspace, though, to talk about marijuana.
It's the one and only Digo Double G.
Okay. All right, let's get... All right, I'm with you. Mm-hmm.
It's the one and only Digo Double G.
Yep. All right. Yep. Okay, here we go. All right, come on, break it down. Break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down. Come on.
Smoke weed every day.
Smoke weed every day may well be what's next for Florida, as the Florida Recreational Marijuana Initiative has enough signatures now to go onto the ballot. Yet, it is evidently going to go to the state Supreme Court first. As with more than 1 million valid signatures, it seemingly should be on the ballot, but there's a legal challenge now from State Attorney General Ashley Moody. Moody has filed a challenge against the measure, asking the Florida Supreme Court to invalidate it on grounds that voters would not be able to discern the legality of the drug at the state and federal level. While medical marijuana is legal in Florida for eligible patients, it remains federally illegal. And yet, other states, the first of which Colorado, and there's something like 18 other states now, do allow recreational marijuana. So this may or may not end up on a ballot coming up a year from November. Adults 21 and older, if it passes, this is what it would legalize. Adults 21 and older could buy and possess up to 3 ounces of cannabis for personal use. The cap for marijuana would be 5 grams. Oh, we're so bad at this, Paul Cross. Drug math. We have to do drug math. Remember how bad we are at drug math?
I didn't sign up for this.
Is 5 grams of marijuana a lot? I don't know. Would that get Snoop Dogg through the night?
It depends on whether you smoke 5 grams or you are in possession of 5 grams.
Oh, I guess that does make a difference now, doesn't it? All right. We'll take your phone calls at 844-580-WDBO, 844-580-9326. Hit me up in the open mic, and the WDBO app will continue. More of your calls and comments coming up.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Triple Team Traffic.
Still working a crash 528 westbound before the turnpike. They still have 2 right lanes blocked there by a fire truck. So it's causing a lot of delays now, starting about Sand Lake in that area. Also, a crash has closed the ramp from Lake Nona Boulevard to the 417 southbound. And we have a 5-mile trek of brake lights. This is on the Turnpike southbound, starting around Hancock and going all the way down to Colonial. ProTech Air Conditioning and Plumbing Service. For honesty, integrity, and 100% customer satisfaction, call ProTech 407-291-1644 or visit ProTechAC.com. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm Paul Cross.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. Join the conversation now by using the open mic in the WDBO app. Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's news and talk, WDBO.
All right, if you're just joining us here on the Joe Kelley Show, we have unpacked a lot already here tonight. We've got a few more things to unpack here in this hour. Hillary Clinton just going off the rails on PBS, saying that Trump supporters are like a cult. She says that President Trump does Putin's bidding, which is absolutely absurd. She says let's see, what else she says, that Trump manipulated social media and some so-called mainstream media to forge an unbreakable connection with his base. Are you kidding me? Donald Trump has been kicked off of most of the social media. I don't know what you're talking about, Hillary Clinton, that Donald Trump manipulated social media. And the Putin's bidding stuff, I don't know if you know this, but there was like an 18-month hearing and a trial on that, and it ended with no charges and no credible evidence that Trump had any kind of connection to Vladimir Putin. In fact, if anything, it showed that Joe Biden had connections to Vladimir Putin. She says that none of this, the Trump supporters, are American. We don't have American values. Doing Putin's bidding, being unwilling to stand up for real American values, to put one person above country, that all from Hillary Clinton. She says that you have to vote for Joe Biden because the alternative is so dark and dystopian. Now, I said that I do not agree that all Trump supporters are like a cult. Only some Trump supporters are like a cult. And I'll tell you that if you're offended by that, I think you're in the cult. I really think so. I think that's how that works. If you think I'm talking about you and you're offended by what I say, that some of the Trump supporters take it to an extreme. Some Trump supporters go way too far and have an unhealthy relationship with their love and adoration and idol worship of Donald Trump. If you're offended, then you might fall into that category.
I would like to counter what Mr. Genius was trying to talk about. I would say...
Wait, hang on a second. Am I, in that scenario, am I Mr. Genius? Would you guys suggest that I'm Mr. Genius in that?
Well, in his comment, I thought you just meant in general would I suggest you're Mr. Genius.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Like, no,
thanks. Thank you so much.
Maybe in his comment, yeah. Sure.
I think in that scenario, I am Mr. Genius. All right, here we go.
I would like to counter what Mr. Genius was trying to talk about. I would say a cult acts just like all the Trump haters. No matter what Trump does, they hate him regardless of the facts.
You know, actually, now if I'm Mr. Genius, am I allowed to agree with you? I think you're right. I think it does cut both ways. For people who are absolutely in love with Donald Trump and hang on his every word and every comment, then you've gone a little far. You've gone overboard. Similarly, for people who, even when Donald Trump does something good, something solid, something amazing, something great for this country. And frankly, his work at the border was tremendous. Even though, I mean, I call him like I see him. I call balls and strikes. He do I dare want to go down this path again? He flat out lied when he said that Mexico was going to pay for the wall. But that he managed to get part of a wall built and that he secured our border, people should applaud that on both sides of the aisle. And I would agree with you that it's like an opposite cult for people who hate Donald Trump, who cannot objectively look at him. They're so seething in hatred, like Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton seethes with hatred for Donald Trump that she couldn't concede anything that he did right. And that's a real tragedy. So, yeah, I think it does cut both ways on that. We're talking about medical marijuana as well as there are enough signatures now. There are enough signatures for medical marijuana to be on the ballot in Florida, but our Attorney General, Ashley Moody, is challenging that, saying because it's federally against the law, we should not have recreational marijuana here in the state of Florida.
Oh, I forgot to say, when you decriminalize marijuana, you also eliminate the incentive of the marijuana growers south of our border for charging such a high amount for their illegal product, and their profit margin is...
I like that. Thank you very much.
Joe, I must be in a cult that worships dogs because I have a lot of shirts that have dog paws, says I love my dogs on it. Oh, Lordy.
Maybe you're dyslexic. Maybe it means you love God, not dog. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know.
Joe, although the medical marijuana is for medicinal purposes, if they legalize it as recreational, it's going to be a lot of dangerous stuff going on, especially those that work in warehouses and operate machinery. I think I'm against that, even though when I was younger, I used to be a weed head, you know what I mean? But as far as operating machinery and overall safety, no.
Yes, I do think I know what you mean when you say you were a weed head when you were younger. I think I know what you mean. By the way, Paul Cross, I have a confidential source, a source that I trust highly, that says to me that Orange County Sheriff's deputies have sealed off the entrance points to Cypress Creek High School, and a lot of parents are parked along South Orange Avenue. If you could look into that,
I will.
I would appreciate that. Again, a source of mine that I have the utmost trust in says Orange County deputies have sealed off the entrance points to Cypress Creek High School. You know, this is spring break week for quite a few schools. I know that my kid's school, I'm sorry, not spring break. Can we edit that out in post? Not spring break. It's homecoming week for a lot of schools. I know my kids are having their homecoming this week, and I love homecoming week at schools because they get to do all the fun things that they do. You know, they have Spirit Week and Spirit Day, and they dress up and everything else like that. Do you guys know who Markwayne Mullin is? Markwayne Mullin is a United States Senator from Oklahoma. I knew Markwayne Mullin when I lived in Oklahoma. I lived in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, before I moved here to Orlando in 2012. And when I knew Markwayne Mullin, he was a plumber. I'm not even kidding. He was a client of the radio stations, and it was weird because Mullin Plumbing was one of our biggest clients at the station. And then when he ran for U.S. House, we're like, the plumber guy is going to run for the House. And honestly, I'm glad he did. He has turned out to be an exceptional conservative in both the House and now in the United States Senate. Well, Markwayne Mullin had comments late yesterday about Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, and I thought it was interesting. As Matt Gaetz made this big stink about the Speaker of the House, I don't know about you guys, but I kept thinking to myself, doesn't Matt Gaetz have a lot of skeletons in his closet? I know there's been a lot of smoke about it, but he's not been criminally charged with anything. But his behavior has always been a little suspicious, and the people that he takes company with, the people that he spends time with or has spent time with, some of them are criminals and have gone to jail or in jail. And so I thought, man, of all people to be jumping up and down saying, look at me, look at me, look at me, is Matt Gaetz hurting himself more than he's helping himself in that scenario? Well, Markwayne Mullin, United States Senator from Oklahoma, Markwayne Mullin, had this to say about Matt Gaetz.
You got to think about this guy. This is a guy that the media didn't give a time of day to after he was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night. This is obviously before he got married. And so when that accusation came out, no one defended him, and then no one on the media would give him a time of the day. All of a sudden, he found fame because he opposed the Speaker of the House back in November, and he's always stayed there. And he was never going to leave until he got this last moment of fame by going after a motion to vacate.
You know, Markwayne Mullin is not the first person to say that that Matt Gaetz showed those videos to fellow members of the House on the House floor of videos of scantily clad women, naked women, or whatever the case may be. And I feel like Gaetz is putting a giant target on himself. Maybe he is completely innocent of everything. Maybe that guy is as clean as the driven snow. I have no idea. I don't know him personally. I've never had a word with him. I know Markwayne Mullin much better than I know Matt Gaetz, to be honest with you. My name is Joe Kelley. You can join me at 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can hit me up in the open mic, and the WDBO app will continue with more of your calls and comments coming up straight ahead. Don't nobody go nowhere. Stay there here on the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Talk and discussion on the latest breaking national news.
Crude oil prices continue to fall.
Local news.
You're not going to have Disney have its own government in Central Florida.
And stories that matter to you. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let your voice be heard on the Joe Kelley Show.
Joe, really, why are we wasting time talking about comments Hillary is making about Trump? She should be completely irrelevant. Nothing she says matters. She's a very wicked, evil woman who has done a lot of damage in the past. Please, move on to another subject.
I don't know how to tell you this, but you're the only one who's talking about Hillary right now. It's not me. I brought it up once, like last hour, and then people keep calling up and talking about Hillary. I don't know if you know this, but we're talking about Donald Trump as Speaker of the House. That was actually the first thing that we brought up, was Donald Trump, Speaker of the House. We've also talked about whether or not we should make weed legal recreationally here in the state of Florida. And we have talked about, what else did we talk about here? We've got a variety of topics that we've brought up already. And you brought up Hillary, I'm afraid.
Alcohol is legal, but you're not allowed to drink and drive, and you're not allowed to drink and work. So whether marijuana is illegal or legal, you're just going to have limitations. You're going to be able to go home after work and smoke for the evening. It's no different than going home and having 6 or 10 martinis or 12.
I get that. Do you get the sense that she has both martinis and weed when she goes home? You gotta have something. You gotta have something to go.
You have to have a hand free for something. So I mean, it's but
yeah. So
no complaints here.
So for the open mic about Hillary, we're talking about we're talking about alcohol and weed as well.
What would you say to a person that listens to Joe Kelley in his kitchen and in his car and while he's in the restroom on his phone? Is he in the Joe Kelley cult?
No, it's one thing to be a supporter. It's one thing to be a fan of someone, to like someone. It's one thing to vote for someone. It's one thing to listen to someone on the radio. It's another altogether when you become obsessed. And I know what that's like to have someone who's obsessed over me. I've been in radio long enough that I've had people who have stalked me. I've had people who've become obsessed with me. It's unhealthy. It is dangerous. If someone pulled into the parking lot here at the radio station and had giant banners on their car that said Joe Kelley, if they had big bumper stickers on their car that said, "We love Joe Kelley," if they were wearing a T-shirt that says, I'm all about Joe Kelley, yeah, that would be very troubling to me. I would not welcome that. I would fear that.
Hey,
is this not a good time?
I'm sorry, what's that?
No, is this not a good time to reveal my Joe Kelley underwear?
Yeah, that'd be a terrible time. Please don't. No, sit down. We don't want to. We do not want to see that.
Hey, the lie you think Trump made about that Mexico would pay for the border, he didn't mean it like, hey, here's a paycheck, or rather, here's a check to pay for the wall. There were various things that were done that helped pay for the wall that wasn't an actual check. I don't know exactly. I just remember back in the day, but it wasn't like Mexico was going to hand him a check for it. So it wasn't a lie. Seriously, it wasn't.
Seriously, it was. That's exactly what he meant. In fact, he meant it so much when he said that I'm going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. He meant it so much that the Mexican president responded in very choice words, saying there's no way in hell that Mexico is going to pay for that wall. That's exactly what Donald Trump meant when he said Mexico is going to pay for the wall. Now, I can objectively look at that and say he lied about that. I voted for him anyway because he ended up getting it done, and I appreciated that he ended up getting it done. But the money didn't come from Mexico. It came from the Pentagon. Came out of the Pentagon budget. That's where the money came from. None of it was paid for by Mexico.
Hey, Joe, what are you going to do when Trump becomes the next Speaker of the House for the next 3.5, 4 months and gets to pick his own successor? And then he gets to save all his campaign money until the end towards the election, like towards next summer. You ever thought about that one?
I have thought about it. Not only have I thought about that, we've been talking about it here on the Joe Kelley Show today. I feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone or something right now, right? So, yeah, honestly, I would absolutely love to see Donald Trump become Speaker of the House, even if it's just for a few weeks. I think that would be amazing. I think the entertainment value alone to watch. And again, for the guy who had the open mic who said the cult works both ways, I agree with you. The cult does work both ways. For the people that worship Donald Trump, the other edge of that sword are the people that hate Donald Trump with every fiber of their being and won't even recognize when Donald Trump does something good. And those are the anti-cultists, or the cult of Dark Brandon, if you will. And I would love to see their heads implode, absolutely implode, when Donald Trump is then third in line for the presidency behind a guy that could die any minute now, and a woman that has no business being the next president. I would love to see Donald Trump be Speaker of the House, even if it's for 20 minutes. We'll continue the Joe Kelley Show straight ahead.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. In-depth segments on topics that matter to Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I love your show every night. You're doing great, bud.
Come on, Joe Kelley. I cannot believe you. I thought we knew you. And then you go and do a thing like play Snoop Dogg.
I know.
Come on, man.
I know. I feel terrible about it. Hey, do you guys remember the QAnon shaman, the guy that raided the Capitol on January 6th, that had the buffalo skin helmet on and the buffalo horns and all that stuff? His name is Jacob Chansley. He's out of jail now. I don't know if you know that, but he's no longer in jail. And he is also throwing his hat in the ring for Speaker of the House. And here is his platform for Speaker of the House. And honestly, this guy might be nutty butters and all, but I think I could get behind him as Speaker of the House, though I don't think he could wear the buffalo horns. But he says, all right, my first proposals brought to the House floor are as follows. Single bill voting law. I think that's a great idea. So instead of these big omnibus things where they're voting on 10,000 things at once, you vote on one law at a time. And it gives lawmakers the chance to actually read the dadgum bills. So I support that. He also says term limits and age limits for all Congress and staff. Absolutely, I'm down for that. Mandatory drug testing for all Congress and staff. I'm down for that as well. Criminalize lobbying. Ooh, that's going to be a little bit harder. That's going to be tough because lobbying falls under the category of freedom of speech. And you're going to have a hard time. Even if you were to create a law that criminalized lobbying, I am certain that the Supreme Court would overturn that. And lastly, a 7-figure fine and expulsion for insider trading from members of Congress. Absolutely. Hang on, I gotta count how much money 7 figures is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's like $10 million. Is that right?
Oh, that's math again, Joe.
Why do people have us do math? Math is terrible.
It's math. I don't get it.
I was trying to convince my sons to get into STEM to do more math STEM, and they're like, "Dad, we hate math," and I don't have the grounds to tell them that they should. I was like, I also hate math. Michael says it's $1 million. All right, so Michael, thank you for that. I appreciate.
Did you see Frank's comment? Frank for the win here. Because if the guy was in Congress, all laws would start as Buffalo Bills.
I know my son.
Like it.
My son Hudson would certainly appreciate that. All right, so a couple of the things here to throw onto the fire. Have you guys seen the video of this woman who told off a bunch of German tourists on a New York City train? This woman just absolutely went off. She's a Karen. Have you seen it?
She was totally sloshed, too.
Yeah.
She was messed up.
She was tanked. She was probably having that 12 martini and a bowl full of weed that we heard about earlier. So this woman was on a New York City train, and there were some German tourists, and she told them to get the F out of the country. She's now been fired from her job. This is where people learn that actions have consequences. And, I feel weird about this. Like, what the woman did was reprehensible. Oh, hang on. I have to apologize to Karen in our chat room. I'm sorry, Karen, that I used the term Karen. There's got to be a better way. All right, but you get the idea. So with all Karens listening excluded, so this woman goes off. And I feel weird about this, because she's now been fired. She worked in human resources. Gosh, of all jobs to have.
Oh, my gosh.
Working in human resources, right? She worked for Capital RX. Her name is Brianna Penix. She was an acquisition specialist, which means she was a headhunter, right? Acquisition specialist means she hires people. And the company says, our company has a zero-tolerance policy around prejudicial or discriminatory behavior.
Well, they do now.
Our former employees' actions and words are not representative of Capital RX, and we offer our sincerest apologies to those who are hurt. She was filmed on the train, getting in the tourists' faces and complaining about immigrants. Her boyfriend tried to calm her down and told her to stop, but she didn't listen. And I know that the company has no choice but to fire her. I hate when people's off-duty behavior gets them fired on duty. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would like to think in a perfect world those are separated, but those days are long gone.
With phones and with everybody recording everything, all those days are gone.
Yeah, they really are. So you've got to mind your P's and Q's no matter what. And beyond that, where in the world do people get that kind of hatred? Where do people get that? I mean, how do you? I would look at German tourists on a train in New York City and say, "Hey, thanks for coming to America. I hope you have a good time here." I mean, because those people are going to go back to Germany now and have nothing good to say about the United States.
But you know what? This also is an argument for the legalization of marijuana, because since alcohol is legalized, I can't imagine somebody smoking 5 grams of weed and then doing that.
Is that a lot of weed? I don't know. Is 5 grams a lot of weed?
We were trying to discuss this earlier. I have no idea.
None of us have any idea how much a lot of weed is.
No. But I can't imagine. I don't think people smoke weed and then get into fights. I don't think people smoke weed and then call tourists,
right,
racial slurs and things. That's okay. My 2 cents. I'm off the soapbox.
All right. So a couple in, where are they? Montpelier. Is that Vermont? Where is Montpelier? Montpelier. A couple is suing a local antique dealer after they learned that an African mask that they sold for $158 was later sold at auction for $4.4 million.
Ooh. Did Jim Carrey come with it? Wow.
The couple are an unnamed 81-year-old woman and 88-year-old husband. They were cleaning out their second home in 2021 when they found the mask. I'm always intrigued by people who find things in their home. And I'm like, did you know, how did you not know it was there? How did you not know that there was a Rembrandt, behind the door or up in the attic or something like that? Is that not weird? So they took it to an antique dealer, and the antique dealer, they both agreed on a price of $158. And they probably thought, man, I made out like a bandit, $158 for this piece of garbage. Well, the art dealer then took it to a couple of other people for evaluation, and the appraisals were low. The appraisals were, low is a relative term. Compared to $158, they're astronomically high. Some appraised it for $315,000 up to $420,000. But in March 2022, it sold at auction for $4.4 million. And now the couple is suing the antique dealer for $5.55 million. And why wouldn't you? Saying that they're cheating them out of the thing. Come to find out, it's a 19th century Nagil mask of the Fang people of Gabon, Africa. And it's worth $4.4 million. I'm going to go home and look in my attic just in case.
Look behind doors. Yeah, look behind. You're in a 55-plus community. You can look behind in attics.
There's all kinds of old stuff there, man. all kinds of old stuff. Antiques everywhere I look. All right, we'll continue the Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. News, weather, traffic, all the things you want on your drive home. Plus, Joe Kelley being, well, Joe Kelley. Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's News and Talk, WDBO.
So Donald Trump has acknowledged that he would be willing to be Speaker of the House for a short period of time until the Republican Party can sort out their challenges with finding a speaker. Your reaction?
Hey, Joe. If Donald Trump does become Speaker of the House, I just think it's so funny that he would have Nancy Pelosi's office.
Well, that is certainly one way of looking at it. He would also have Kevin McCarthy's office. He would have John Boehner's office, who was a cigarette smoker. I think they got all the cigarette smoke smell out of the office from John Boehner when he was in there.
So why do people keep saying Donald Trump is a possible Speaker of the House when there is a ruling that the Republicans in the House had made a year or so ago that if you're indicted for a felony, you cannot be Speaker of the House? I mean, that's just what they did.
That is what they did. But as I said earlier, if the lawmakers can implement the rule, they can also kill the rule. They can get rid of the rule. So they don't need to worry about that, really.
Joe, is it a lie for him to say Mexico's going to pay for the wall when he kind of had aspirations? Like, he wanted to do that, but it didn't end up happening. Just like he says, the election's stolen. He believes that the election was stolen. He believes that Mexico was going to pay for it. Am I missing some sort of information or something? Let me see. Let me take off my Joe Kelley socks here.
Yeah, look, I think Bill Clinton believed it when he said, "I did not have sex with that woman, Miss Lewinsky." You know, that you have convinced yourself of something doesn't make it any less of a lie. And I don't think that Donald Trump ever thought that he was going to be able to get Mexico. I mean, it's just absurd on face value. It's absurd on its face to suggest that somehow we're going to build a wall between Mexico and the United States and we're going to somehow convince Mexico to pay for it. I mean, there is no way that was ever going to happen.
We moderate rights really like Trump. He's already been tested, nationally. He did a great job. Everybody can complain that they don't like this tweet or he said this. Listen, there's tons of politicians that talk smack every single day.
There are, no doubt about that. Thank you so much for being a part of the Joe Kelley Show. We're back with you tomorrow afternoon, 5 till 7, right here on WDBO.